Hey friends, in this video, we're going to go over hair width and texture and how to determine it. If you just watched my previous video, it was all about the density, but hair width, I don't know why I'm gonna keep saying width, hair width and texture is completely different. So let's jump into it. This is page 13 and 14 of our book, Curls Untangled, the hair care guide for parents with kids with curls. All right, so hair texture, it's also known as the width, measures how thick the circumference of your child's hair strands are. So if you were to grab one single strand of hair and the width of that strand. Knowing hair width or the diameter plays an important role when planning your child's hair care routine. That's because depending on the width, and like I said in the other video, the density, the porosity, even if you find these things boring, please take the time to figure this out for your child because it's going to help with the product choices. It's going to help with the methods that you use to apply their products, with the haircut, with the styles that work best for their hair care. All right, so let's get into the 3 different types of hair textures. They are generally categorized into these 3. All right, so the first one is fine, and then we will get into medium, and we'll get into coarse as the hair texture. All right, so fine, due to the smaller circumference of the fine hair, it is weaker and it's more easily damaged than the other 2 curl widths. Curly hair routines should include light to little product. Also, deep conditioning for strength, very important. Added volume if desired. So if the fine hair, you find it sitting too flat and you want to add volume, I have a whole chapter, which will be turned into a video, not a whole chapter, but a couple pages on volume, how to get more volume. It's actually a really fun page. I'm going to be recording that as a video as well, so make sure to check that out. But you can still add volume even if they have finer hair width and texture. So other than that, also the product is going to make a difference. You want to possibly do protein treatments more often to help fortify the hair. All right, let's get into the medium hair width and texture. It's not too thick or thin. It's right in between. Medium hair texture takes less work to find a healthy routine. It's your most basic hair care routine. These curly hair strands they're more stronger, they're more elastic than the other widths. And you can use a normal amount of product when it comes to styling. Normal, I don't know what that means when it comes to curly hair because we are not using normal amounts of styling product. All right, coarse hair strands are the strongest, but they're the least elastic, so they don't stretch as much out of all of the hair width and coarse types. It does have a larger circumference and it allows for the product when styling, which is necessary because dryness can lead to breakage. I give a tip in this one before we get into how to determine the hair width and texture. Hair width plays a factor in cuts and styles. The texture is important for helping you determine which length to maintain. So again, your child's haircuts are going to look different depending on their texture, their density, their width. All of those things play a factor on which haircut and style truly will look best for your child. How to determine. So let's get into how to determine hair texture. I give you these steps in the book. Step A, you want to clean the hair. Make sure your child's hair is clean and free of any styling products. So you don't want any buildup or anything that is throwing you off when you're looking at the hair strand. You want to grab a single strand. This is one of the tests that you can use to determine hair width and texture. You want to roll it between your fingers. So you'll get one single strand, you'll roll it between your fingers, and you want to focus on the way it feels and how visible it is. So how does it feel? Does it feel thinner, finer? Does it feel more coarse? Does it feel just like a normal medium type of hair strand? Now, if you haven't done this on multiple people, it can be really hard to compare. I've done several people's hair care, so I'm very familiar with what's out there. But again, if you're just looking at your kid's hair for the first time, it might be hard to really determine using the single strand test. You can also do a visual inspection. So just look at the hair in natural light and absorb the thickness and overall appearance. Fine hair might appear more wispy, while coarse hair may look thicker and more robust. Another option is the elasticity test. Like I was saying, some hair stretches more and some of it doesn't, depending on what type it is. Fine hair tends to be more elastic, so if it's fine, you could pull it for a longer amount before it breaks, where coarse hair is less flexible and it will break rather quickly. Now you can, instead of just pulling from your daughter or son's scalp, you can snip out a piece of hair to do that test. You can also use the thread method. The thread method is when you would take a piece of thread from your sewing room or from the store, wherever you can get a piece of thread. It's frayed, so take it apart, because a lot of time there's a lot of layer to thread. But if you can get one single piece of thread and line it up next to your kid's hair, if the strand is bigger, their hair is considered thick or coarse. So if it's bigger than that single thread, it's considered thick and coarse. If the strand is smaller than the thread, then they likely have fine hair. Understand that hair texture can be beneficial when you're choosing your hair care products, the styling techniques, the hairstyles that complement the natural characteristics of your child's hair. For example, fine hair, you want to use mousse and a pick. Refer to the product and tools section of this book, and that will help you achieve volume. For coarse hair, you might want to have less volume. I actually prefer more volume. When my daughter with thick hair, she did go through a phase where she wanted to lay it more flat, and I was like, oh, just wear the volume. I love the volume. But if your child is fighting that and they do want it to lay more flat, just add more heavier product. Gels are great for this. Heavier, thicker creams are great for this as well. So it's very important. Ensure that the hair is always hydrated. Keep in mind that individual strands on one person's head can vary. Again, on the same scalp, they can have different types of hair, different width, different texture, all of these things on the same individual. So keep that in mind and use the right products, the right styling. I cannot stress that enough, by knowing and determining exactly what width and what texture your child has. All right, guys, thank you so much. This is part of a series. I am recording every page in this book into a video, because some of us don't learn by reading, but we learn directly from listening or watching right on this video. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please subscribe, like, give us a thumbs up, share this with a friend if you found it useful. Let me know in the comment section if you have any more questions. Maybe I missed something out and I can add that into the second volume of this book. Thank you so much. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.